Hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Friday, October 25th, 2019. And this, of course, is our weekly video. A look back at last week's auction results on eBay and see what's going on over at CATAWIKI and so forth. There's a lot going on. One of the things I wanted to bring up, though, is, as I've mentioned in the last month or so off and on, that we're working on adding a much broader base of items to the site than has been on there previously. It's been quite an undertaking. And on the home page right now, and we'll put this also on the newsletter page and scatter it around the site so you can go look at it, is this notice right here, Global Auction Pages. And this is sort of this links to a page we launched today that you can go and see what we have in mind in a bit more detail for the global auction pages. These are going to be pages covering auctions from live auctioneers, Bid Square, Invaluable, and then Sotheby's, Christie's, and Bonhams. They're all going to have their own pages, and we're going to put a lot of content on here. We've worked out the technology, and this page will explain what's going on, how we're going to do it, why you'll probably want to use it. There will be a small fee tied to it just because it cost us so much to set this up. We're going to have to hire someone to come in, and there's a lot that goes on here technologically with this kind of endeavor. Strangely, a few people have said, why don't we do auctions? And we've actually thought about that in the past, letting folks auction things on the site, but that's going to take a bit more examination before we dive into that, right? If we do, and this is an explanation of the global auction pages, how they're being done, and here are the companies that will be involved. And then down below that, you'll see these are just samplings of different items that we found that you'll find on the pages. These are not obviously all of it. The left side are items that are on Valuable. The right side are items that are on Sotheby's right now. They will eventually have their own pages. They won't be sharing pages like this, but we just wanted to show how it will look and what the kind of items you're likely to see are. You'll see some things that are Sotheby's, for example, in Australia also lists on Invaluable. So you might, if you miss it on the Sotheby's page or you don't look at the Sotheby's page, you might find their online bidding arrangement over on the Invaluable site where they're advertising, okay? And we've got the parsers and all the technology lined up that will allow us to do this and embed stuff. And this page will explain what it is and tell you a bit more about the site. All right, so it'll be fun. This is going to be really fun. All right, I hope everybody takes part in it. If you're a collector or dealer, this is going to save you hours and hours of time every week. I guarantee it. All right, now let's take a look and see what went on over on eBay last week. One was this nice little Famille Rose brush pot. There's a nice molded shape to it with underglazed blue and Famille Rose enamels. It's a 19th century pot, but it did very well because Scholars Objects continue to have a strong base. And this went for $775. Okay, it was a nice thing. I liked it a lot. And these Famille Rose examples remain very popular among Chinese collectors. It also had an apocryphal, probably Guangxu or Daoguan mark on the bottom, but still, it did just fine. All right, and then over here to this nice pair of Femi June and rather unusually decorated vases within these blue, sort of almost like roux head or outlined cartouches. Nicely drawn, very unusual pattern though on these vases. These vases were quite unusual, and they did very well. As you saw, they brought $2,700, and it's mostly because the design is very atypical, and this was a nice pair of 19th century vases. They went for $2,858. But unusual decorations always do well. All right, and then over here, this was the tortoiseshell breeze fan. You're not supposed to sell tortoiseshell on eBay technically, but especially over in the EU, they seem to be lightening up on some of these listings quite a bit. It was missing an end blade. That was over here, so it didn't bring quite what it would have. Had this been perfect, it probably would have brought $800 to $1,000, and this one ended up selling for $526. However, the carving of the shell was excellent on this example. And you always look at the work, always look at the quality of the work. And this was it was a nice thing, and someone will figure out a solution to the missing end blade and be in good shape. All right, and then over to this very nice early sort of Chinlung export shallow bowl. And what was striking about this was the overglazed blue enameling and the way it's decorated. Really superb work. And this blue was a very popular color among Tang Ying and his people in the late Yong Chen and early Chinlung period. He, in his own painting, used this same color, this Prussian blue, quite a lot. It made the plate very striking. Really did. Here's a picture of the back of it. That's what the back of one of these plates should look like. You have that nice sort of ivory colored, slightly V-shaped to the inside foot rim, typical of the period. And the plate did quite well. It brought $501. This was a nice plate, and it was also the gilding was in great condition. I always check gilding, because if the gilding is worn, you're probably going to find the enamels are a bit worn too. This was in tip-top shape. And then over here, well, it had a couple of edge frits, but nothing significant. All right, and then over here to the double rank badge of the Heron. This was a nice looking one pair, and they did pretty well at the end. They brought $1,025. They had good metallic thread in them, and they were in nice condition, and they weren't stained. All right. And rank badges have a steady following. If you get some and you're thinking of selling them, do a little homework, put them up, and I think you'll be pleased with how they do overall. All right, and then on to this, the wood panel, the carved gilt wood panels. There were two of these up. One of them brought about $160 because I think it had a few issues, as I recall. This one was in better shape, and it ended up going for $590. But I love stuff like this. You can hang them on walls. They're very atmospheric. I've seen these, just as a tip, if you ever get a big one of these and it's carved right through. I was in a house once, and the fellow had it mounted on a wall with a spacer, so it was about 1.5 inches away from the wall, and behind it he had put in these very soft lights. So the light was coming slightly through the background. It's really beautiful, really beautiful. These are great decorations for the money, unbelievable. And for $590, it's a lot of bang for your money. All right, and then over to here, this nice little Shiwan figure. We don't feature a lot of these on here because they made so many of them, and a lot of them aren't that good. This was a wonderful little figure, and I love the facial expression of the boy holding up the basket. The glaze was nice. The detail work was very good. Here's a picture of the underside. It's a typical Shiwan piece. You notice there was a price on it from years ago, $2.50. And here's a picture of the back of it and so forth. All right. And in the end, it did just fine. It ended up selling for $170, which for Shiwan isn't. They never bring a lot of money, and I think they're very I think for collectors, you could have a lot of fun buying these pieces if you seek out the best ones, because the best ones are excellent. And unfortunately, a lot of Shiwan pieces get all lumped into the bucket of the other 90% that are sort of just whipped together, glazed, and put out. Some of the pieces that were turned out like this, with the figure on that cloud base, they're very nice, and I think they're certainly worthy of seeking out. All right, and then over here to this nice Nanking pattern, large oval platter. This is a very, very fine example. As I've said before, when you see these, always check the arrows that run around the rim. It's the first indicator of how good the rest of the plate is going to be. If they look like arrows, real arrows pointing up into the rims, it's probably from earlier, and it's probably going to be a much finer quality, nice heavy porcelain, well decorated, as you can see with this one. The decorations are excellent. The way the buildings are all detailed, lots of detail in the buildings. The shorelines are very nicely done with the rocks, the mounting waves, and so forth. And the later ones, the arrows tend to turn into dots or be abbreviated or blurry. But this was a nice old one, and it went for just $346. That's a heck of a nice buy for a big plate like that, and done so well. If you love Chinese porcelain, don't overlook some of the really fine export stuff that was done. The Chinese guys don't chase them. The Chinese collectors don't chase this stuff, so the prices tend to be very favorable. If you love Chinese porcelain, look at really good export porcelain. because many of the places that made it were perfectly capable of producing domestic wares at the time, but there was a bigger market for them to do export work, and they did. And there's the same hands that painted these kinds of things also painted some of the best domestic Chinese wares you'll ever see. This plate was 17 inches in length. It was a good size. That was a wonderful buy. $349. And then on to this sort of odd cloisonné vessel. The form is taken from a variety of different things, and the cloisonné, no, it's 20th century cloisonné, it's okay. But what sold it was the jades. It had some nice jade plaques set into it here, and a couple of, and two belts, belt hooks, okay, one here and one there, all right, and good quality jade, and it went for $1,580. But I think the two jade belt hooks alone are probably worth what was paid for it. And then you have two of these plaques, one on this side, one on the other side, this greenish white jade, and then the Buddhist burning, the flaming finial on top. All right, I suspect somebody might buy this and break it up, or just sell it as is. But I think this was, in the end, a good buy if you sort of do the math on the value of the jade that was with it. All right, and then over here, the Yixing lined, roux head formed pewter teapot with an inscription. These are, as you know, very desirable. This one was stamped by the maker in the bottom. There's the maker's mark, and there's a better shot of it. These are notoriously hard to photograph. The only thing with these Yixing lined teapots is if you come across one, get a flashlight and look inside and make sure the liner is not damaged. Often the liners in these are damaged. They get banged over the years of use. If anything hits the pewter on the outside, it will crack the Yixing liner on the inside. But some fairly well-known people did the liners for these, and they then, of course, incorporated them into these pewter bodies with jade spouts, handles, and finials. This was a nice one, and it did pretty well. It brought $2,038. All right. And these things have come down a little in price, I think, in the last 5 years. They used to be sort of more in the $3,000 to $5,000 range, some for much more. And this was another thing I thought was a great buy. If you've been around collecting for any length of time, you know what this is. It's a fluorite. They call these quartz, but they're really known as fluorite. Carved stone pieces, and these were often made into lamps like this one. Okay, and they fitted it with nice old bronze collars and threw some gilding on it. And I think this is another area of things that were made in China that are woefully underappreciated. It has this sort of big dark line in it, which is not unusual for these. These things are often have nicks and cracks and so forth in them. But what a cover on this thing. This was a nice lamp, probably lamped up back in the 30s or the 40s, judging by the mounts and the shade. The shade is a little too big for it, but that's okay. It went for just $153. And if you've ever looked at these and wondered maybe you'd like one to illuminate your own, a table in your house, they're not expensive and they look great lit. They really do. Some of the Chinese lamps that were made from fluorite look absolutely beautiful in a room. And so take the plunge and buy one rather than just buying a plain old table lamp. All right, now over to this, the transitional ewer. We talked about this last week. I liked this. This was a nice looking ewer. It had some losses and some fritting here, which is fairly typical, but it was nonetheless, I thought, a very nice one. And in the end, it did just fine, even with the fritting. It brought $2,776. If it had been absolutely perfect, it probably would have brought more than double that, but it was still a good collectible example. And if you're not in the position to spend $7,000 or $8,000 or $9,000 for one of these, here's one with a little bit of fritting. You can get it fixed. You can always get fritting fixed. Fritting is not a hard thing to fix with a porcelain repairer. It isn't that expensive either. It only gets expensive when they have to do reconstructive surgery on a piece of pottery or porcelain and have to repaint it all. But if it's just filling in, it isn't that bad. All right, and then on to this, the pair of Celadon ground famille rose with underglazed blue vases. These were around the second half of the 19th century, maybe a little before, with gilded foo lions on them. And the one thing that held these back a little bit was that one of them had a chip out of the rim. Given the size of these and what they are, and had a staple repair on the bottom, they still did pretty well because they were so decorative. These things are so very decorative. And they ended up still selling for $719 for the pair. All right. Nice looking pair of lamps. All right. Had they been absolutely perfect, they would have brought over 2,000 probably. These were 17 inches tall. And then moving along over to this nice silk panel. I love this salmon colored red silk with the phoenixes on it and the flowers, and just a really nice example. And overall, this was in good condition. You can tell by the creases this had been folded up and put somewhere for a long time, because this kind of silk, if it's in any room exposed to any direct sunlight, these things fade in a matter of a month. The color on this looked quite good. And it ended up doing fine. It brought $560. Nice silk for that much money. Very nice silk, elegant. And then over here to the robe, this was a nice gilt thread and metallic thread rather robe with nice looking sleeves. This gilded skirt at the bottom for the legs, so forth. They opened it up to show that the liner was in nice condition. This robe has not been worn a lot, but it looked like a nice one to me. And in the end, it did pretty well. It brought $8,000. Had good color, good groundwork. The dragons were nice. Always check the dragons for pulls. Often the gold thread on them gets pulled and going to unravel on you, and you want to double check that. But that robe did just fine. And then over here to the armorial 18th century dinner platter. This was a really nice platter. This was Steve up in New Hampshire had this. I talked about it last week because I think it's the kind of thing that's a great bargain. And this was a nice piece of armorial ware, real deal, 18th century, nicely done. The gilding is in good shape. Even the initials at the bottom, the monogram is still in good condition. The gilding around the edge, and here you see these spearheads, just like you see on that piece of Nanking ware we were talking about. It was a popular motif, but on export other pieces, they often did them in gilding. And this went for only $385. I think that was a wonderful buy. If you like armorial stuff, it wasn't that many years ago that these armorial pieces brought triple that, or even more, much more. But that market has softened up because the American furniture market softened up about 15 years ago and never really recovered. So the demand in the West for armorial and export pieces fell away, and the Chinese don't buy it typically in the Chinese market. In some areas they do if they're very much the Chinese taste, but otherwise they don't buy them much. So you have the opportunity to collect something fabulous that isn't going to break the bank. All right, and then on to this rose mandarin oval platter. Nice one, very typical. This is a mid-19th century one. Here's a picture of the bottom of it. That's what they look like. They have this sort of grayish tone to them. If you see them where they look really, really white and unusually smooth and have no little kiln grit around them, be leery of them. They are making copies of these, so you just want to be careful, okay? And then over to this, another Nanking oval platter with Fitzhugh patterning on the inside. This is a beautiful example. And this only brought $149. Like I said, you can get some great buys on these things. All right, and in a few minutes we're going to get to. I forgot to put in. We're going to add it at the end. There's a fake on eBay right now that's doing really well, and I want to share it with you because I'm afraid somebody I know might buy this. Not somebody I'm thinking of particularly, but I mean you folks. You might be interested in this plate, and I want you to divert away from it. Now we're on to this, the pair of Chinese silver dragon sort of open salts. These were really, really nice. I thought these were just terrific. The amount of work that went into just making each dragon. And look at this, just $204.50. I think that may be the silver bargain of the last couple of months. That's a great buy. Really great buy. And then that doesn't belong in there, but that does belong in there. There we go. Is the gilt China Trade Export sewing box with nice lacquer on it. Again, this one has its wooden feet still attached. I tend not to show them if they have metal ball feet. That's why I always show them with the wooden feet. This is what they originally came with, and they often, because of the way they were attached, tended to get knocked off. And here's the cover of the lid in pretty good shape. Sometimes the lids on these are just worn away to nothing from cleaning. That one didn't look too bad, and it brought $618. Not a bad price. All right, and then over to the ewer that was up, the blue and white ewer with the serpent handle, and this is based on a Middle Eastern metallic metal form. Nice looking pot. Didn't have its stopper anymore, and it went for $899. And this was well, you can tell how big it is. This is a Coke can. That's about 6 inches tall. So how tall was this? 10 inches. There you go. All right. Well, maybe Coke cans aren't 6 inches, so maybe they're just 4 or 5. All right. And what I want to do really quickly is get over to this lot that is bringing more money than it should. Okay, so this is the dish. This dish appeared on eBay a few days ago, a week ago. It's going to close soon. And it really looks good. It's got all the, very tight decoration and all this. All right. This plate is a fake, in my opinion. All right. I don't like some of the colors that are appearing. I don't like the way it's drawn. It's one of these plates that's too tight and too good to be true. And if you look at the tightness with which the center of it is drawn with all of the birds and the colors, this oddball sort of pea soup green that they're using here, the shading of the blue, the way the birds are drawn, it's all done with just a little bit too much precision for my taste. Here's a picture of the, where's that foo lion gone off to? Up here, this foo lion, the way he's drawn, the bamboo trees, this very odd cash symbol border, which I don't recall ever having seen before. And then the back of it here, the foot rim on this looks completely wrong to me. And you'll notice right here, when you see this very tight patterning of orange peel on porcelain, run for your life. It's a new piece. It's a very tight, very organized pattern, and it turns up on pieces. You can see it here on the left. This very wavy looking orange peel. It's very unnatural looking. This plate is new. It closes, in my opinion, it closes on Sunday. It's from a seller, Evan0077, over in Germany. Yeah, in Germany. All right. This is it's up to $2,573. It's got 44 bids. It's got a lot of watchers. I forget. I checked how many watchers it has, but it was like 80 watchers. You don't want to buy this plate, and if you've got a bid on it, I would urge you to withdraw the bid. All right. Just a quick heads up on it. All righty. Sorry about that. And if you've bid on it, you can retract your bid and just forget you ever did. Okay. All right. It's too good to be true. It's also 50 centimeters, which is a nearly preposterous size. So run for your life. Okay. Now over to here. These are things that are on eBay that are closing in the next few days. And we'll have this. This is our friend Josh up in New Hampshire has a sale up with about 130 items. Some good things in there. He's got some nice things this time around too. Nice. This is a good Klumpets bowl, Kangxi period. It's up to $980. It closes on Monday. And he also has up, I came across this, where is it? This Japanese, fabulous Japanese woodblock print, pencil initial down the side, the snowstorm, and this is a really good one. It's by Kawase Hasui, and it's up to $9,100, but this is a really rare print. I don't know if many of you out there collect Japanese woodblock prints, but this looks like a first strike, and it's doing just fine. All right, but a rare thing. And Josh has got a bunch of other good Japanese prints, too. If you're a Japanese print buyer, you might want to check it out in particular. He's got good Chinese stuff, too, but good Japanese. And then on to this. Now, this is a Kangxi period charger. Here's a picture of the back of it. There's a picture of the reverse. That's what the foot rim should look like, very much unlike the example we just looked at. This is a real one. It's not 50 centimeters in diameter, but it's a nice decoration, nice hukai decoration, and it's up to $300. It closes in 6 days. This is Handy's Antiques over in New York that has this. They get good things. If you see their listings, always check them. Handy Antiques, because they seem to get into houses. I don't know where they get their stuff, but they seem to when they come onto eBay, they've got nice things. Okay, and then there's this, the bowl that had the chip out of it, but it's a very rare type of bowl, Guangzhou period. Here's a picture of the back. This is a real one. Okay, it had some damage, obviously, out of the rim, and these Bajishang chargers, when they're perfect, this plate would sell for around $20,000 to $30,000 or so. Pretty comfortably. This one went for $2,711 because of the break out of the corner there. All right, but I don't have to tell you that break, to be done superbly well repaired, would probably cost a few $100. All right, and it would be like it never happened, and you've got one heck of a nice plate on your hands. All right, and $2,711 I think was pretty reasonable for that. The Christie's and Sotheby's get them fairly often. And they always do well. There's a collector's market for them. And then this turned up on eBay. That item sold. I meant to show it earlier. All right, now on to this, the Ming bowl. This is a very pretty Ming bowl. It appeared over the last couple of days. Here's a picture of the bottom of it. It's very late Ming, but it's a nice one. It has a nice pattern to it. He over-sharpened his pictures a little bit, it looks like, but there it is. And it's up to $16. It's got a couple of days to go. And if you like Ming porcelain, this is a pretty good one. Pretty good selection. And then over here, our friend William over in the UK, this is God Revy has this, a very fine pear-shaped high-foot Republic period vase. This is a nice one. There's a picture of the bottom. It's got the typical 4-character Qin Lung mark. They did use these 4-character marks from the Qin Lung period in particular, but they were mostly enamels, a work that was done in the Imperial Atelier, and then they were used again in the Republic period. And this is a Republic example. Beautiful decoration, nicely worked, good blue, good seals and all that business, and it's doing pretty well. It's up to $706, and it closes on Sunday. But it's a nice thing. That's a nice thing. All right, and then over here, this is some of the things that are on CATAWIKI this week. They have quite a bit of stuff. They always have a lot of, if you like Kangxi and Wan Li pieces in particular, they always have quite a bit of it, and we try to make sure that the site presents it. This was a nice-looking cover jar with lotuses and peonies. And then there's that rather unusual bamboo tree-scened plate. It closes in a day. It's only up to $44. Might have a couple of minor condition issues. I forget, some fitting or something, but very unusual pattern. And then there's this nice Wan Li plate with the bird in the center. It's got a nick out of it, but there are several other Wan Li plates as well. This also closes on Saturday, I believe. All right, and then over here, you have the, this was a very good Komatsuki dish, Chongsen period, beautifully done, and it hasn't even got a bid yet. It's just started. This is on eBay at Asian Art. We will have that on the newsletter page. And then this robe is on right now. This ends on Sunday. Nice looking example. And we'll see how that does, but it looks like a nice one to me. All righty, so that's it. So check out the global auction page information that we've put up so far. There'll be a lot more coming, and but I want folks to understand what we're doing and how we got here. It's been a long journey from the little tiny one-page site that this was a few years ago, because we keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it, and this is the next leg of the journey. So that's it for now. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. We are doing a video next week on the upcoming sales over in on November 5th. Where is it? In Hong Kong or someplace? I forgot. I got to look at the catalogs. Anyway, they're up on the catalog in the reference section. All right. Have a good weekend. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. And if you want to make a comment, make one down below. We love to hear from people. Some folks ask some interesting things too. You should read the comments once in a while. They're fun. And come over to Bidamount.com and learn about what we do over there. The newsletter page itself is free. None of that's going to change. We're just setting up a new section. So, of course, the site will remain as it is. Always has been pretty much. All right, and we'll keep adding there as well. Okay. Have a good weekend, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.